And then there were four. There are 4 teams left in the NFL playoff field, yet just a handful of ProCanes remain on the quest to Super Bowl LIII. The first 2 rounds of the 2019 postseason have been more than entertaining, with offensive ingenuity and defensive counters to cater to all parts of the audience. Conference Championship weekend consists of the 4 most successful offenses from the 2018 regular season. Because of the AFC, we're all but guaranteed to have at least one ProCane player make it to the big dance. However, there's still one last hurdle to overcome to get there. Which leads us to today. Game previews: Los Angeles Rams at New Orleans Saints, 3:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Rams CB Sam Shields is the lone ProCane in this NFC Championship game. It's a remarkable feat given the uncertainty of Shields' football career after suffering lingering symptoms due to concussions early in his career. Now, both Shields and the Rams are just one game away from booking a trip to Atlanta to compete for a Super Bowl. Against the Cowboys last weekend, aside from a 17-yard punt return, the Booker T. Washington graduate was held off the stat sheet for the contest. It will be a much different story today when the Rams walk into Mercedes-Benz Stadium. According to Pro Football Focus, Shields has an 80 rating, which is really good, in run support, while his coverage grade stands at 57.3%. The latter stat is probably due to Shields allowing 25 receptions on 34 targets for a completion percentage of 73.5% in his direction. Shields is also credited with giving up 6 touchdowns, intercepting 1 pass and breaking up 3 passes during the regular season. Coming down with a contagious illness in the days leading up to the Rams' Week 9 match with the Saints, Shields was kept away from the team, and was ultimately unable to contribute. The difficult task of trying to cover Saints WR Michael Thomas will fall on fellow cornerbacks Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. Thomas accounted for 1,576 of the Saints' 4,475 receiving yards in 2019. Who is the second leading receiver for New Orleans, you might ask? That would be RB Alvin Kamara with 744 yards. If the Rams are able to limit either of those 2 options for the league's most prolific offense during the regular season, then the comeback season for Sam Shields is one step closer to a Disney ending. New England Patriots at Kansas City Chiefs, 6:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. The final game of the day features the most hurricane content of the 2 championship matches. On one side, you have Allen Bailey and the Kansas City Chiefs defense, the hideous, disfigured significant other to their flawless offense. KC's defense finished 31st in the country in total defense, allowing an average of 405.5 yards and the 9th worst points per game average of 26.3. The Chiefs certainly bent against QB Andrew Luck and the Colts last weekend, but it was the defense that sacked the QB 3 times and forced 7 punts to put the ball in the hands of their explosive offense. With all that said, Allen Bailey did not register a stat last weekend. Such is the life of a 3-4 defensive end, fighting through multiple blockers while the linebackers behind you reap the benefits. However, he and KC are just one game away from the Super Bowl. In their only regular season game together from this past season, Bailey tallied 3 tackles and recovered a fumble in a 43-40 loss. In 4 games against the Patriots, the Big D has managed to sock Patriots QB Tom Brady once, adding 10 tackles and a tackle for loss altogether. Stopping or disrupting the timing of Tom Brady and the New England defense is often priority 1. However, if Bailey and the Chiefs can limit the damage by RB Sony Michel and the Patriots' ground game, that likely will factor into who wins and loses this game. One of the weapons at the Patriots' disposal is ProCane WR Philip Dorsett. Hauling in 4 of his 5 targets, the 4th-year wideout contributed 41 receiving yards and caught the first postseason touchdown of his career. When these 2 teams met in Week 6 of the regular season, Dorsett did not post a stat in the game. That could change when he takes the field in Arrowhead Stadium this evening, however. Dorsett's 290 receiving yards and 32 receptions are his highest totals as a member of the Pats, adding a career-high 3 TDs this year. Those numbers won't raise eyebrows, but on a team where you're catching the ball from arguably one of the best to ever throw it, having the trust of Tom Brady and offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels is an accomplishment all on its own. It wasn't long after NT Vince Wilfork left New England that the Patriots were one of the few teams with no Hurricanes on the roster. Entering today, the Patriots have 4 ProCanes on their roster. Dialufomba Kamalu was signed late in the season after being released by the Texans in 2018. Rookie W.R. Braxton Berrios was placed on season-ending injured reserve after suffering an injury in training camp. Finally, DeTrent Harris worked his way onto the Pats' practice roster in his first season in the league. I guess Bill Belichick may have a soft spot for Coral Gables after all. News and notes: another Cane headed to the Pro Bowl. With all the flurry of news from last week's hires at Coral Gables, we forgot to mention that New York Giants LB Olivier Vernon was named a Pro Bowl replacement. The 7-year Pro will replace Chicago Bears LB Khalil Mack due to an undisclosed injury. Vernon missed the first 5 weeks of the 2018 regular season, yet was able to compile 7 sacks, 30 total tackles, and 5 tackles for loss in just 11 games. This will be Vernon's first Pro Bowl appearance. Vernon joins Houston Texans RB Lamar Miller, who is replacing Denver Broncos RB Philip Lindsay. Chris Herndon to be suspended for the start of 2019. Starting the new year off in court is not the scenario that anyone wants to find themselves doing. Unfortunately for Jets take Chris Herndon, that was the case last week. Herndon pleaded guilty to driving while intoxicated in a car crash dating back to June 2 in New Jersey, minutes away from the Jets' facility. Under the NFL's first-time offense policy, Herndon could be suspended for up to 2 games. Since there was property damage and injuries to another person, Herndon crashed into a 76-year-old driver and totaled his Nissan Armada, which slid for 700 feet after impact. According to reports, Herndon could be subject to further punishment. College All-Star Saturday: a trio of Hurricanes took part in a pair of collegiate All-Star showcases this past Saturday. The first game of the day was the East-West Shrine Bowl in St. Petersburg, Florida. However, before kickoff, the Hurricane contingent was cut in half. CB Michael Jackson was ruled out of the game with an undisclosed injury, according to David Wilson of the Miami Herald. Jackson had a roller coaster week of highs and lows in practice leading up to Saturday. The Birmingham, Alabama native was praised for his coverage at times in practicing, particularly slowing down Georgia WR Terry Godwin. At this time, it's unclear how this injury will impact MJ looking ahead to the NFL scouting combine in March. OL Tyree Street. Lewis was able to take part in Saturday's game and performed well. The IMG Academy graduate started the game at right tackle for the East team, later moving to left guard for a couple series. St. Louis spent the majority of his career as a tackle, starting at right tackle and moving to left in his senior year. The willingness to play guard can only help the 6 feet 5 inches prospect's chances at impressing a potential employer entering the league. A few hours later, C. Tyler Gautier manned the center position for the national team in NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. With the Rose Bowl serving as the backdrop for this college showcase, Gautier and the National found success in the running game. Unfortunately, it was the tandem of former Hurricanes Chuck Pagano and Ed Red that had the last laugh as the American team won for the first time in the Collegiate Bowl's young history. It's always about the U.